Anything else you want to say to your fans, man?
Man, shout out to Dante's Boxing Nation. You know, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, Errol Spence Jr., my whole name, and just look out for me.
Yes, sir. Let me dig into your brain, folks falling like rain.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So as you guys probably know by now, it was reported that Terrence Crawford versus Amir Khan did a very low number of about 150,000 pay-per-views. Now, compared to Errol Spence pay-per-view buy numbers against Mikey Garcia, it was reported that that fight did 350 to 400,000 buys. So if we're comparing, then obviously Crawford versus Khan numbers were not great numbers. And Errol Spence, he blames those numbers on Bob Arum. He believes that Bob Arum did a horrible job of promoting the fight, and he promotes Lomachenko way more than he promotes Terrence Crawford. Errol Spence, he also shared Leonard Ellaby's sentiments when he said it makes no sense that Tyson Fury has a way better financial deal than Terrence Crawford does with Top Rank. Let me go ahead and quote exactly what Errol Spence had to say. Quote, his promoter needs to do a better job promoting him, I guess. I feel like he was a failure on the promotional side. So I think Bob needs to get back to the drawing board if he thinks me and Crawford's going to be a 50-50 down the middle deal. If I'm bringing in probably over 400,000 pay-per-view buys and he's doing 100 and something, why should we split it if we fight each other? End quote. There's no doubt about it, those pay-per-view numbers that Errol Spence did might give him a little edge when it comes to negotiating a fight with Terrence Crawford. But Errol Spence, he makes a lot of sense when he draws a dichotomy and talks about how his fight was promoted against Mikey Garcia compared to Crawford versus Khan. I mean, when it came to the Spence versus Mikey Garcia fight, they promoted that fight like it was the Super Bowl. Everywhere I turned, there was a special promoting that fight. And when it came to the face-offs and all the little mini-series that they did promoting the fight, everyone was clamoring to watch this fight. I kept seeing comments of people saying, man, I can't wait for this fight. But when it came to Crawford versus Khan, I didn't really hear anything about that fight until the week of the fight. Check out what else Errol Spence had to say. I'm gonna continue. Quote, it's not just the opponents he's fighting, but the whole promotional thing behind him. Like when Showtime promotes and Fox promotes, they really put everything into it. With the Crawford fight, you really didn't hear nothing until the week of the fight. I kind of forgot about it. I didn't even hear nothing about it until the week of the fight. They just started promoting it probably Thursday or Friday. That's when it really got out there like that. So I feel like they could have done a better job of promoting it. End quote. What's so crazy about everything Errol Spence just said right there is I hadn't even read this piece of the interview until now. And as you guys can see, Errol Spence, he said almost word for word what I had just said before I quoted him. That tells you guys that everyone is seeing the same thing when it comes to the way Terrence Crawford is being promoted. The thing is, Terrence Crawford is considered pound for pound the best fighter in the world. Pretty much in every other sport, the best athlete in that sport is usually promoted the most, is usually the highest paid. I mean, you guys remember when Tiger Woods was the best golf player? He was the one with all the big endorsements. He was the highest paid. What about when Michael Jordan was in his prime? And I'm not saying the best athlete always is the highest paid or the most promoted, but they're usually in that bracket of one of the highest paid, one of the most promoted. And the crazy thing is a lot of these other athletes, they don't even have a promoter. They may have a publicist, but they don't have a promoter. It's not the fighter's job to promote his brand. That's the promoter's job. I mean, look at all the great things that Al Heyman and the PBC series are doing right now. They keep coming up with these new ideas, these new TV shows, these new segments. Like, for example, they just came up with this segment where they let the champions talk. They have all boxers sit down and talk, which I think is a great idea. It doesn't really matter how great Sean Porter, he was pretty much the host. It doesn't really matter if they're great at, interviewing people. It's just great to see professional boxers all sit down and have a conversation about boxing. This is great for the boxing fans, but it's even better for the boxer because it gives them more shine. It helps get their name out there even more. And that's what promoting boxers is all about. So hopefully Bob Arum, he does take advantage of having pound for pound the best boxer in the world on his stable. You know, I think it'll be a good look as well if Terrence Crawford could get one of those PBC fighters in the ring, which won't be easy. I mean, right now, Danny Garcia, it seems to me with Keith Thurman possibly fighting against Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence possibly fighting against Sean Porter next, that leaves Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia, he could fight a Terrence Crawford. Now, I know as soon as I say that, I know all you fans are saying, ain't no way Danny's gonna fight a Terrence Crawford. But I'm just saying, if Terrence Crawford could get someone like that in the ring, that would definitely catapult Terrence Crawford's status in terms of fame and viewership. So we'll see how it all plays out, but there's no doubt about it. With Errol Spence beating Mikey Garcia, and then if he goes right into a Sean Porter fight, there's no doubt about it. Errol Spence's star is just getting bigger and brighter. But don't get it twisted. I mean, when it comes to Terrence Crawford, he had 14,000 fans show up at Madison Square Garden, and that wasn't his hometown of Nebraska. So that was a good look for Terrence Crawford as well. And I'm telling you guys, no matter when the Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford fight happens, it's going to be one of the biggest fights of this generation, at least the new post-Floyd Mayweather generation. And when I say one of the biggest fights, I mean in terms of pound for pound. 2 pound for pound fighters going up against each other. The very best welterweights going up against each other. It's going to be a big fight. So actually, Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, they really do need each other to make history. I mean, they can make history without each other, but it would be better for both of them if they fight against each other eventually. I'm gonna close out by quoting something else that Errol Spence has said. Errol Spence, he also said he noticed when they were promoting Crawford versus Khan, they kept talking about Lomachenko. He said whenever they talked about Terrence, they would talk about Lomachenko in the same sentence. And he said they didn't do that when they were promoting me. They weren't talking about any other fighters. You didn't hear them constantly say Thurman, what about Thurman, and Thurman, Thurman, Thurman. This is what Errol Spence said. So, you know, I think it's really good that you have a lot of fighters from Deontay Wilder to Errol Spence. They're starting to be very vocal. But not only are they being vocal, but they're talking about the politics. They're talking about the double standards. They're talking about everything that needs to be addressed in the sport of boxing. And they have the biggest platform to get the truth out. I tell you guys all the time on this channel, one of the most dangerous weapons in the world is a microphone and a camera. That dangerous weapon, it could work for you or it can work against you. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.